So you'll probably have to come, if you could come meet me over here whenever you're done, that'd be great, because I'm on this traffic stop and it's very confusing, and I do know how to be a cop, but I've kind of forgotten.
Been doing this for about 8 years.
When you read that complaint, what came to your mind?
I don't know if that's something that I can actually say he did wrong.
Sheriff's office, anybody home? Official paperwork.
This is a Shields of Shame exclusive.
Ask Black to Sheriff's office. The warrant and civil. Be nice and cordial. Ask Black to Sheriff's office. The warrant and civil.
This is Lieutenant Brown, Cherokee Sheriff's Office, Internal Affairs. I am in the Internal Affairs interview room with Corporal Blackerby. Today's date is the 16th of February, 2022. This is concerning IA case number 2022-00005. Corporal, thank you for stopping what you were doing and coming to talk to me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
This is a copy of the AIC accusation as well as employees' duties and rights on the very last page. This is your copy. The accusation was written by me. It was taken from a Lindsay Booth, who was the driver of that black Tahoe. This is her complaint. If you want, read that and let me know when you're done so I can have you sign my form.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. That's your copy. If you would, by signing it, it just shows that you received a copy of it and you're aware of what the accusation is. If you would sign there for me and then date it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's the 16th of February. Thank you, sir. All right. Corporal, this is an Internal Affairs investigation memorandum. This is to inform you that an Internal Affairs investigation has been started in regards to a situation which was reported on February 15th, 2022. Copy of the allegation is being supplied to you for information. I also have supplied you with a copy of employees' duties and rights during internal investigations. You are hereby ordered not to discuss this case with any person other than the Internal Affairs Office, Chief Deputy, Sheriff, or Legal Counsel. Any efforts on the contrary will be considered an obstruction of this investigation and a violation of a direct order. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sign and date that for me. The next form that I'm going to read is the Internal Investigation Warning, which is commonly referred to as Garrity. Thank you, sir. I wish to advise you that you're being questioned as part of an official investigation of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. You'll be asked questions specifically directed and narrowly related to the performance of your official duties or fitness for office. Fitness for office. You are entitled to all rights and privileges guaranteed by the laws and Constitution of the state and the Constitution of the United States, including the right not to be compelled to incriminate yourself. So the incident occurred on Highway 92 near Londonderry. You were backing up one of your troops, Deputy England, on February 8th, 2022, approximately around 2 p.m., 2:30-ish.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember this incident?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You read her complaint. She feels that you made her feel very harassed and unsure of what to do. When you read that complaint, what came to your mind?
Laughter.
Okay.
Because it was a very cordial interaction between she and I. I explained what more than likely happened to cause her suspended registration was the lapse in insurance, and that it was a computer that automatically suspends it as soon as insurance is taken off if there's not insurance covering, and explained to her how to fix it and the best ways to fix it.
Okay. I watched the video and I had a hard time hearing your audio. There was a lot of wind noise and a lot of background noise from Highway 92. And it seemed like it was coming in and out. Is that, I know you're new to the unit, and that was your newly assigned vehicle?
Newly assigned vehicle as of last week, yes, sir.
Tell me, when you were speaking to her, was your audio mic on?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's on my right shoulder.
What I heard in the little bit that I did hear, it sounded like it was a very cordial conversation. I didn't hear you raise your voice, or I didn't see any intimidating looks from you.
Yes, sir.
Did you do anything like that?
No, sir.
She claims that that you placed in your hand and arm on her vehicle, and I think she means the door, the window was rolled down.
Windowsill,
And,
which
and
I
it-
did. I walked up to it and I was talking to her like this with my hands right here.
Right.
Having a conversation with her.
Is that something that you normally do when you're speaking to a driver from the passenger
In
side?
situations like that, yes. There wasn't, the contact had already been made, and Deputy England was just trying to have me help figure out what was going to happen.
Okay.
As far as either towing it, riding her, or just having her go online, which is what she ended up doing.
Okay.
And pay whatever the fine was, then having it reinstated. So I was talking to her, just asking her about the car, because the car looked very much like a police vehicle.
Okay, and you did speak to her about that?
Yes.
Okay, and
She
what,
said
can you tell me what you said or what you asked and what she
said
told
it was
you?
her husband's vehicle that she just drives, and I asked if he was in law enforcement, and she said no, he owns several businesses. I said, oh, okay. Then I asked her if he was a PI, because maybe a PI would have that, and she said no, he owns several businesses, and one of them's a tree company.
Okay.
And I said, okay, cool, and left it at that.
And you put your arm up on the door seal, the window
Where the
area.
window would normally be, sir.
Tell me why you did that. You were comfortable with the stop? You didn't feel
Just
there was
comfortable
a
with
security
talking with her.
issue?
I didn't feel there was a security issue. She was on her phone trying to get Cobb County DMV to answer, because they were first trying to call to see if she could pay them over the phone. So both hands were right here. I could see in the back there was no one else in the vehicle with her.
Okay. Did you do it, put your arm on the window for the purpose of harassment or intimidation?
No, sir.
What ultimately happened with Deputy England's stop?
The driver was able to get a hold of Cobb DMV, who told her that she had to go to a website and pay it. She couldn't pay it over the phone.
Okay.
She began to go to that website, and we were in the turn lane there on 92, and I advised the driver to either pull into the U-Haul or pull up to the racetrack gas station and just sit in there and finish it. That way, it's a safer place to be than right there on the side of the road.
And that was because you trusted what she was telling you, you believed what she was telling you, you figured it was a computer error on the DMV/insurance company's side's fault.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the fact that she was actively trying to go on the website and fix it versus just going, okay.
Okay. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you think would be beneficial to this investigation?
No, sir. I mean,
Okay.
It was very much a casual conversation like you and I are having. There wasn't any threats about anything. I did ask her about the vehicle, because there's tablet stands in there. It's darked out. It's an old police Tahoe, and they've got a state of Georgia seal.
Yeah, tell me about the
Next
license, on the license plate.
The license plate's a vanity plate through Georgia, and it's just 4 numbers, and I don't offhand know those 4 numbers. But to the left side, there is a sticker that says it's the seal of the state of Georgia that has been put on there. Does not look like it came from the DMV, that you could order at vanity like that.
Right.
So that's one of what Deputy England had said, and I had to take a double take at it. But at the same time, she also noticed the redemption sticker on the bottom right, so a government vehicle is not going to have that. So
That's what piqued her interest.
That's what piqued her interest.
As well as the failure to use her turn signal while changing lanes.
Yes, sir.
Aside from everything in the complaint, Deputy England said that there was something back on the B pillar behind Mrs. Booth's head that was attached to the B pillar that had lights on it, and that concerned her, thinking that maybe it was some sort of something to do with the interior law enforcement lights. Did you see what she was speaking of?
Yes, sir. It was right behind the driver's head on the B pillar. It resembled what we had in the HNT truck as the cellular box that can turn cell phone signal into Wi-Fi. I saw a couple wires running down that B pillar, and they were green lights, and I think 1 or 2 of them was flashing.
I think Deputy England said that she did ask the driver what it was or what it had to do with, and she said something about the vehicle seats and maybe massage or heating or something like that. I didn't know if you asked the question to her too.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No,
Anything
sir.
that you need to add? All right, sir. Thank you very much for coming in. The time now is 1:38 p.m., and this will conclude the interview. If I got some follow-up interview questions, I'll just give you a call and go from there.
So,
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming in.
So, I got a question.
Sure. This is Lieutenant Brown, Cherokee Sheriff's Office, Internal Affairs. Today is the 16th of February, 2022. The time is approximately 12:09 p.m. I am in the interview room of Internal Affairs with Deputy England. This is concerning IA case number 2022-00005. All right. While I get the paperwork going in the administrative portion, I'm going to let you read over the accusation. It is a traffic stop in which you initiated 8 days ago, with the driver being a Miss Lindsay Booth. The accusation is going to be against Corporal Blackerby, and this is her main complaint right here, if you'd like to read that. And just let me know when you're done. Okay. Deputy England, this is to inform you that an internal affairs investigation has been started in regards to a situation which was reported on February 15th, 2022. A copy of the allegation is being supplied to you for your information. I also have supplied you with a copy of employees' duties and rights during internal investigations. You are hereby ordered not to discuss this case with any person other than the Internal Affairs Office, Chief Deputy, Sheriff, or Legal Counsel. Any efforts on the contrary will be considered an obstruction of this investigation and a violation of a direct order. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you would sign and date that for me. It is February 16th. Thank you. All right, Deputy, this is the internal investigation warning, commonly referred to as Garrity. I wish to advise you that you're being questioned as part of an official investigation of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. You'll be asked questions specifically directed and narrowly related to the performance of your official duties or fitness for office. You are entitled to all rights and privileges guaranteed by the laws and Constitution of the state and the Constitution of the United States, including the right not to be compelled to incriminate yourself. I further wish to advise you that if you refuse to testify or answer questions relating to the performance of your official duties or fitness for duty, you'll be subject to departmental charges, which could result in your dismissal from the Sheriff's Office. If you do answer questions, neither your statements nor any information or evidence that is gained by reason of such statements can be used against you in any subsequent criminal proceeding. However, these statements may be used against you in relation to subsequent departmental charges. In addition to the above rights, you have the right to have counsel present during this questioning. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you would sign and date that one for me also. Thank you. Let me go get my notebook real quick. I want to go ahead and make sure I got it all right. Okay, so Miss Lindsay was driving a black Tahoe. I believe you stopped her on Highway 92 on February 8th, 2022, so about 8 days ago.
Yes.
About 8 o'clock at night? Or is it in the morning?
No, the stop was initiated or logged by dispatch at 1:53 in the afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you remember the incident, the traffic stop?
Yes.
Okay, if you would, tell me, you got behind her, what did you see and what happened? What made you pull her over?
I was on my way with a TPO to meet with Corporal Blackerby. He was at a separate location, so while I was driving on 92, it was about at Professional Parkway. I saw a black Tahoe that was had a license plate of 4 numbers, which is very unusual, so that originally caught my attention. It also had I wasn't sure if it was a sticker or if it was part of the license plate, but it had a Georgia seal on the left of the 4 numbers on the license plate. The seal being like the capital as a gold emblem, but it's the one where it has the capital and writing in a circle around the emblem.
Would you say that was a bumper sticker that was placed on the license plate? Or some sort of sticker?
I wasn't sure if it was a sticker at that point.
Okay.
I just saw that, and it was sparked my interest because the license plate was also just a Georgia standard alternate license plate, where it has the white background, the black lettering, and has the peach emblem in the middle of it.
Okay.
So that was also strange to me because I hadn't seen a government plate that had looked like that. So I wondered what GSP was doing in the area because the black Tahoe looked almost identical to what the Motor Carrier Compliance Division black Tahoes look like.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to see that it had a brush guard on the front and that the wheels looked very identical to like the ones that are on my car where the hubcap is. It was all, I believe it was chrome, but they look like police wheels.
With the black rim wheels?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, the black rims, but the chrome wheel hub. So I realized it didn't have any writing on the side of the Tahoe. So I thought that was strange, but the windows were all very blacked out and tinted. So I ran the tag and saw that it came back to an individual, John Booth, I believe, out of Marietta.
Okay.
So that automatically told me it was not a government vehicle, and when I looked at the GCIC returns, I saw that the registration was suspended. So just to clear my own head that it was some kind of government vehicle just because it looked identical to what some of GSP's vehicles or just any maybe unmarked vehicle. I did pull beside the driver on the left of the Tahoe. I pulled up just to see who was driving.
As you were going down Highway 92?
Correct, yes.
Which way were you heading on 92?
We were going eastbound.
Okay.
Yes. So we had passed Main Street at this point. I'm sorry. We had not passed Main Street. We were at the at a red light, and I had pulled up and seen that it was a white female with blonde hair.
Okay.
And the windows for the driver and passenger were not tinted, but the rest of the back passenger, back driver, and the trunk window, they were all completely blacked out. I couldn't see through them.
Okay.
So the driver of the black Tahoe at the green light began to go faster than my lane had started moving. So I was able to get behind the Tahoe again, but I believe she had moved over into the right lane at some point. So I was still in the lane to the left of the black Tahoe. She made a movement from the right lane to the left lane past Main Street before the railroad tracks where that right lane turn, it merges into the lane that I was in.
Yeah.
So before the merge, she had just come over from her lane in front of my vehicle and did not, use a turn signal. So I decided to initiate a traffic stop based on, I already was, but based on the suspended registration and the failure to use a turn signal.
Okay.
So once we got up to...
If I got you right, Deputy England, you were, in your mind, you're like, I'm going to pull this vehicle over because of the registration that came back suspended on your readout.
Yes, correct.
And then she made a traffic infraction.
Correct.
Which was not using a turn signal while changing lanes.
Right. That was after the fact of I had already made the decision to make a traffic stop. It was just another...
You just gathered...
Another infraction.
Okay.
So once we got to 92 at Londonderry, I initiated a traffic stop by turning on my lights. At that point, my video, I didn't realize it, but my video had not turned on. But I initiated the traffic stop by turning on my lights. We pulled over to the right-hand side, so we were just eastbound on 92 of Londonderry, right after the light.
Okay.
I got out of my vehicle and made a passenger side approach to the black Tahoe. I saw that it was the female driver with blonde hair. She gave me her license, and I identified her as Miss Robinson. Lindsay Robinson was what was written on her license.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke with her about why I pulled her over. I informed her about the I believe I informed her about the turn signal first and then told her that her registration was suspended. She did tell me that the vehicle was registered to her husband. I think it's John Booth. Is that right? Okay. I can't remember his first name, but
It is Mr. Booth.
Okay. To a Mr. Booth, and that it was her husband's car, but she uses it most of the time to do her day-to-day driving. So when I informed her about the suspended registration, she said that she did not have any idea what that was about, so I asked her to wait while I went to check the Department of Revenue's website, because on there you can check the status of insurance, and when you check that, if the registration is suspended through the state, it will come back with a return of why it is suspended. So
Okay.
I told her that I would get her an answer.
And that was the Department of Revenue?
Yes, the Georgia Department of Revenue's website.
Okay.
So I went back and ran that and did see that it was, it had obviously, I'm sorry, when before I did the original traffic stop, I saw it on GCIC. Because I ran it through my own car, I didn't run it through dispatch, that it was suspended, but I also confirmed it during the traffic stop on the Georgia Department of Revenue's website that it was suspended as
Are you
well.
getting a reason why it's suspended on either your printout or on the website?
GCIC will not give you a reason for suspension, but the Georgia Department of Revenue will give you a reason for suspension on their website.
Okay.
So when I ran the tag, and you have to put in the county, which was Cobb, was where it was registered. The returns came back and said that the registration was suspended due to a lapse of insurance. November 17th was the last day that it had insurance, and then it regained insurance on November 19th, and this was all 2021.
Okay.
So I took a picture of that, which I still have, and use that to walk back up to Miss Robinson to just show her visually that is what the Georgia Department of Revenue's website was stating the reason why.
And you showed her
Yes.
your phone?
I showed on my phone the picture that I had just taken of the website. It also had a fine of, it was a total of $85, but it was split into two reasons. I think it was, there was a fine for suspended registration, and there was a fine, I believe, for lapse of insurance, but that picture does show exactly what those fines were. So I did tell her that she was to get those fines paid, that she could continue on, but if she could not either get those fines paid by calling the tag office in Cobb County, that she would need to find a ride home, and her vehicle may be towed.
Okay.
Because from my knowledge and experience, a vehicle cannot be driven while it has a suspended, canceled, or revoked registration. So in my attempt to not have her vehicle towed, because I have been doing this for about 8 years, I know it's extremely expensive, so I try not to get people to have to tow their vehicles. I asked her to go ahead and call someone, which I believe she called her husband, Mr. Booth, and was letting him know the situation while I went back to my vehicle. When I went back to my vehicle, I did call Deputy Mills to get his opinion on what to do about towing a vehicle when it has suspended registration versus not towing it. I've been on warrants for about a year, but it's been a long time, years I think, since I've run into a vehicle with suspended registration. So I called Deputy Mills just to get a second opinion on what he does, because he is on the Cherokee County Traffic Unit.
Okay.
And I know that he and I have worked together in the past, and I know that he is very well versed in Georgia traffic
And you trust
law.
his judgment?
Yes. He said that he was not at work, so to not bother him, I asked if Deputy Hester was at work, because he is also on the Cherokee County Traffic Unit. Deputy Hester did answer, said he wasn't at work, but didn't mind talking to me. So I explained the stop to him and explained that the vehicle looked very similar to a police car, which is why I ran the tag. When I ran the tag, that is why, it came back as suspended registration, and the failure to use a turn signal was why I did the traffic stop. He said that he always tows when it is a suspended registration. So getting just his opinion, I talked to him, which is on the video recording in my in-car. You can hear both his and my discussion. So I wasn't satisfied with the answer that we had to tow, so I did call Deputy Robles, was my last phone call. And this was all during the time when I allowed Miss Robinson to either call someone to come pick her up or to try to contact the tag office to get the registration fixed and back to an active status.
And you're in your vehicle because you said it was recorded?
Correct,
Okay.
yes. I'm sitting in my vehicle.
At this time, has anyone backed you up? Has anyone else arrived on scene?
I did call dispatch when I got back to my car from having the initial conversation with Miss Robinson to see what the jurisdiction was, because I've never worked the east side of the county. I'm very familiar with the west side, so I wasn't sure of the jurisdiction at that intersection. So he told me it was the city of Woodstocks and asked if I wanted to have one of their units come back me up, and I asked if he would send one just in case something else came about the stop. I always prefer to have a backup deputy, especially to things where I'm more unsure of either the outcome or what my actions.
You'll make sure you're doing it right.
Correct. So Woodstock unit did show up. I believe it was during my conversation on the phone with Deputy Mills, Deputy Hester, and Deputy Robles. I spoke with, I called Deputy Mills and Deputy Hester, and then Woodstock showed up. So I didn't call anyone else at that point. I got out of my vehicle. Miss Robinson was still sitting in hers and was still allotted the time to get all of the registration issue resolved. So I spoke with a Woodstock officer and again let him know that it had been a while since I had done a traffic stop with a suspended registration. So I told him if he could just watch her, I was going to call my supervisor to make sure that there wasn't anything I needed to do more, because I just wasn't satisfied, even still talking to two other deputies. It just, something in me just didn't, towing a vehicle didn't sound right, didn't sound like the thing that I wanted to do. So I got back in my vehicle while the Woodstock officer, and he also had a female trainee, stood outside of the vehicle. They did not speak to Miss Robinson, they just merely watched the car for me.
Do you know if he approached the passenger side window at all?
I don't believe he ever walked up to the driver.
Would you say he was more on the bumper of the vehicle?
Yes,
or?
he would. He never I'm almost positive. I haven't rewatched my video from that.
Okay.
But I do not recall him ever making any verbal contact or even eyesight contact with the driver. So I believe he stood on the sidewalk. There was a sidewalk.
Okay.
I believe he stood there near the back of her bumper and kind of near the front of mine, off to the side, because I believe he was just letting me do my thing.
Okay, and he's just providing backup and security.
Right. So I told him I was going to call my supervisor. I got back in my car and didn't feel like it was, I thought about it for probably about 30 seconds of whether I wanted to call Sergeant Boss, was who I was originally going to call, but I didn't feel it necessary to bother him with something I felt I could probably get information from somewhere else. So I did call Deputy Robles, who works as a Hickory Flat deputy with Cherokee County, and he's someone that I trust his judgment, and he has been working on the road for a few years now, so he was more likely to have dealt with this issue more recently than I had. He also said that it was, his supervisors have told him in the past that it is up to the deputy's discretion of whether to tow or not tow. I was more satisfied with that answer, that there was an option to not have to by policy, because I like to stick to policy. So I ended my phone call with Deputy Robles. I spoke with a Woodstock officer prior to going back up to the driver and told the Woodstock officer that I didn't need his assistance anymore. I didn't think that this was going to go anywhere at this point. I was just going to talk to her and figure out the registration, because I'd made the decision at that point. I was not going to tow the vehicle.
Nice.
I was going to give her some other, even if it was sitting there for a long time. I would rather do that than tow, because I wasn't in a big hurry. I had a TPO I needed to give to Corporal Blackerby. So I believe on his own, Corporal Blackerby, I may have called him, I don't recall, but he backed me up very
Did the Woodstock
soon.
officer leave the scene?
Yes, so the Woodstock officer went back in service.
Okay.
After I told him that everything was fine, he said, okay, we're going to go back in service. I said, great, thank you for the help. And I walked back up to the driver to check her progress on what she was doing with the registration.
Is all your contact with her on the passenger side?
Yes, any contact I made with this driver was always on the passenger side due to the busy highway of 92.
Okay.
So I always try to make a passenger side approach, but particularly in this situation. So I went back up to the passenger side door and spoke with her about the registration, and she said that I believe she was trying to get on the phone with Cobb County's tag office, but was having difficulty reaching anyone. I told her, I do specifically remember apologizing that having to keep her this long, but I told her I would rather do it this way than have her vehicle towed. She said she completely agreed.
That's great. That's really cool of you.
She said that she would rather deal with this now than have to deal with it later. Because she did inform me that she had a doctor's appointment at 2 o'clock that she was missing. So I told her I was apologetic for having to inconvenience her. So shortly after, Corporal Blackerby showed up, because after checking her status on the registration, I walked back to my vehicle and sat in my vehicle. I saw that Corporal Blackerby was coming westbound on 92 and I made a U-turn to approach and park behind my vehicle.
Okay.
So I got out and spoke to Corporal Blackerby and informed him of the situation and showed him the car. We both walked up to the license plate on the black Tahoe just to check out the Georgia seal that I had seen on the left side. We confirmed it was a sticker at that point, as we kind of used our fingernail to see whether it was permanently affixed or if it was temporary, but it was a sticker.
Okay.
Even on there. He had asked me about lights on the vehicle, because sometimes when we run into vehicles that look very similar to police cars, they do have interior light bars that are used, which I know the law to be you can have those as long as they're amber or white lights. So we both left from the license plate, approached on a passenger side again to speak with the driver, to Miss Robinson. I asked her about the lights, and there was like a laptop stand on the inside. So it looked, even to me, very similar to a police car.
Where was that laptop stand? On the passenger side, like it would normally be in a law enforcement truck?
Yes, so there was, in the Tahoe, the center console is almost a structure itself. It separated the driver and passenger seat. So on the right side of the console, on the passenger seat, there was a laptop stand that was a metal pole that came up to a flat surface that was identical to what we use in our.
And it was affixed to the vehicle. It wasn't just laying on the seat.
Correct. But there was no laptop in the stand.
Okay.
It was empty. I also noticed behind her head, I had noticed it earlier but questioned her about it this time, on the B pillar of the vehicle on the inside near her head was a box that almost looked like an inverter. It had some lights that were kind of like in a row horizontally, and some were on where some were off. So I asked her about that, thinking that it might be a connection to maybe a light bar, which I didn't visually see when I walked up there. I didn't plainly see a light bar anywhere in the vehicle, but I asked her about that, and I did tell her my concern that it was it looked very similar to a police car, which is what sparked my interest in what really started the traffic stop itself. She told me that it was her husband's car, and that she did confirm. I asked her if they had bought the Tahoe, which she said that they had bought about a year ago, if it was outfitted with all of these brush guards, the license plate, the box behind her head, which she said was actually, she said it was something to do with the seat. I don't remember if she said it was like a seat massager or something, but it was not law enforcement related. It was just, I guess.
And that was attached to the B pillar behind her head?
Yes. So kind of, it was almost right above where the seat belt hookup on the wall of the car is. It was right above that. And it had lights on it, so I just wasn't sure what it was.
I can't say I've ever seen anything like that. I'm not sure what that was.
No, but she said it was something to do with the seat. There's some kind of extra that they had put in, but I don't recall exactly what it was. But she said that the laptop stand is used when she will drive sometimes on long trips, and her husband will work while they are driving, so the laptop stand is just for him to put his laptop in while they travel down the road. So she said that all of the things that I had mentioned about the brush guard, laptop stand, etc., were all placed onto the vehicle after them buying it. So
Okay.
it was done by Mr. Booth. So I didn't see any concern in investigating that aspect of the traffic stop any longer. I didn't see anything that made me feel as though I should go further into that topic. So we went back to the registration. She had called, and like I said, Corporal Blackerby was at the window with me at this point. And
Was he there when you asked about that seat belt? I'm sorry, that thing that was attached to the B-pillar?
I don't recall, because I think I had asked about that box behind her head maybe prior to Corporal Blackerby being there. We
Okay.
were in Woodstock. I'm sorry, my
That's all right. The video will show it.
So Corporal Blackerby started asking her questions as well about the tag office and what they had said, and she told us that the tag office would not take a payment over the phone, but did give her a website. So Corporal Blackerby told her, so he told her what we were going to do was she was going to drive the maybe 500 yards up the road to the racetrack. I don't remember exactly what intersection it is, but it was the next light.
Haynes Road.
Okay, yes, okay. So clearly I don't work the west side. But he allowed her to go ahead and just go up to the racetrack. We were going to go in service, and he was just going to trust that she would get that paid online, but she gave her instructions that she did need to go park at the racetrack and try to get that figured out. She thanked both of us. We let dispatch know that we were in service, so we were no longer on the traffic stop, but we also did go to racetrack, the same one that she was at. So we kind of followed her in the parking lot, but she went
Okay.
to the left side, which there's a little, it's not technically a parking area, but it's where you can fill your tires with air. She parked on the left side of the parking lot, which is directly parallel with 92, and we went to the storefront side. So the gas pumps were between the two of us.
So technically the traffic stop was over.
Correct. When we told her that she was allowed to go, that she needed to go to racetrack, it was coincidental that we pulled into the same racetrack, because Corporal said that
Okay.
it was.
And how did you tell her it's okay? Did Blackerby say, "Hey, we're going to trust that you're going to do this"? You feel
Yes,
free. Go. I would suggest you go to the racetrack. Who
Yes.
said what?
Corporal Blackerby was, I don't want to say took over, but he was the one who kind of made the decision, and I realized that just watching his body language, that as in him kind of stepping between me and the vehicle, that he was going to explain to her the rest of the instructions of what needed to be done. So I was still right off to the side listening. I could still see the driver and see Corporal Blackerby. I was standing near the passenger's side window. I'm sorry. So I was standing approximately there, and Corporal Blackerby was near the car, and he was near the car because there was a ton of traffic on 92. It was very loud, so there were points in time when I kind of had to lean my ear in when I was speaking with Miss Robinson, just to understand what she was saying, because it was just very loud. So he had given her those instructions, had told her to have a nice day, that we were done, but she just needed to get that fixed, because he took the same approach that I was going to. He just was the one who verbalized it.
And did you or Blackerby say, as far as the traffic violation, not using the turn signal, did you say, "Hey, that's a warning, don't worry about it," or did you guys just forget about it?
I never, honestly, I think I forgot about it, but I never verbalized that I was gonna do anything about it.
Okay.
It was just, it happened, but
Okay.
it's certainly not the first time someone's done that. But we told her that she was free to go, but she just needed to go, basically,
Pull
we
over
were trusting
and get it.
that she would fix it on her own. And she did, and we ended up following her, not on purpose, but Corporal Blackerby.
You had your lights off. You
Yeah.
guys were just going to the racetrack, grab something to drink or eat.
He had not eaten that day, and it was around 2:30, I think, when we were done with the traffic stop.
Okay.
So he said he wanted to pull in, get something to eat before we went to serve this TPO together.
Okay.
So we went inside of the store. We were probably in there for about 7 minutes, because I think I went to the restroom, he got some food, and then we walked out together, and we just stood in front of our vehicles, which were both pulled in forward. So the front of our vehicles were directly next to those cement poles that they have to kind of block you from hitting the store. So we both pulled in that way, and we were just leaning on his hood, just talking about life, I guess. I don't really remember what we were talking about. So I did notice, just from being a police officer in my surroundings, she was still parked over there, but that was not we didn't have any concern about that anymore. I did see her. We were probably been outside for about 10 or 15 minutes. We were out there for a while, just talking, and he was finishing eating. She pulled her black Tahoe back up to the parking space that was directly to the left of my vehicle. And she got out of the car and said she just wanted to show us her receipt from the tag office to let us know that she had paid her fine. I said, that's perfect. That's really all I need to know, because once you have paid that fine, the state will turn your...
So she approached you. She drove around to your vehicle, exited her vehicle?
Correct. She exited on her own. I walked to kind of meet her halfway, just because I think that's polite.
I agree.
And she said, she showed me her phone, and Corporal Blackerby kind of walked up behind me. We looked and saw that it had been paid. It was a receipt, or an invoice, I guess, from the Department of Revenue that said that her fines for the suspended registration had been paid. And we told her, great, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. And I did apologize again for her having to miss her doctor's appointment and us keeping her for so long. And she left the scene, and that we sat there for probably another 5 minutes, and then we left to go do our TPO service.
Okay. You said earlier that when you first approached her vehicle, passenger side approach, you explained the reason for the traffic stop. When did you realize your camera was not on?
Yes. When I made my initial approach to inform her why I made the traffic stop, when I walked back to my vehicle from that point, I always try to do an equipment check, just because at the time when
practice.
The time when I turned my lights on, I was trying to focus to make sure that I pulled her over in the correct space, somewhere that was visible, was not somewhere that she would have to maneuver through traffic or create an unsafe situation. So I had not noticed that my camera was not turned on at that point until I returned to my vehicle for the first time after speaking with Ms. Robinson, noticed it wasn't on, pushed the manual record button on the 800 system, and that is when the video started.
Okay. What is supposed to happen when you turn on your emergency lights?
When you turn on your emergency lights, the switch that is on the center console, it is supposed to automatically turn your video on as well. There was an issue with the 800 systems, which is the system that is located in my vehicle. About a month ago, it was noticed by those of us who have 800 systems, such as Deputy Eubanks, that our videos were not turning on when our lights were turning on. I did immediately the day, I don't remember what day it was, but immediately the same day that I noticed that mine was not working, I went to Deputy Arrieta, who's in charge of our fleet maintenance for all of the non-mechanical sides of our vehicles. I spoke with him about it. He said that he needed to get it scheduled because he had to take the center console out. It was a very elaborate system that he would have to get to, and kind of explained it to me, but I didn't understand. But there were something about wiring. He would have to rewire some things. So he told me that from the time being, and my sergeant also knew that day, I told Sergeant Voss that my video was not working as per policy says.
When you say that day, you mean on the 8th after the traffic stop?
I'm sorry, no, prior, that was...
When Eubanks told you?
Correct. The day that I noticed about a month ago that my video was not turning on with my lights, I immediately notified my supervisor, and I spoke to Deputy Arrieta about the video not turning on. So they were both aware and told me until we could get that scheduled to make sure to manually turn that on. And I'm really good about doing that, which is why I noticed I did my equipment check when I went back in, because it's always very high-strung when you first do a traffic stop.
So it hasn't been serviced in that month?
In that month, we have not found a scheduled time to get that fixed.
Okay.
Because our unit currently does not have any spare cars to use during that time.
Okay.
So it was an issue of trying to get vehicles scheduled and get me something to drive in the interim.
Okay, and you said you watched a little bit of your video, and is your audio picking up your conversation with, I know you're saying Robinson, I believe her name is Mrs. Booth.
Miss Booth, okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You keep on saying Robinson because that was what was on her driver's license. Did your audio pick up?
Yes.
Okay.
The initial approach from what the video that I have watched today of my traffic stop on the 8th, when the video starts, there is a point of approximately 30 seconds where you can hear the internal noise of the vehicle. I don't believe my audio was picked up when I'm speaking with Ms. Robinson, but that's also an issue of the 800 systems, that it takes about 30 seconds for the external mic to start collecting audio. But from that point on, once I got into my vehicle, my mic pack is what we call it.
Okay.
It turns on. You can hear every conversation from that point on, even when I exit the vehicle.
To even include Corporal Blackerby?
Correct.
Speaking with Mrs. Robinson?
Yes.
Okay. It seems like Mrs. Robinson has an issue with Corporal Blackerby. What did you see him do?
He didn't have anything out of the ordinary, like body language wise, that I saw. He was very polite, as we both were, because there was just, that's how both of us are. I've worked with Jay a few times, or Corporal Blackerby a few times. And when he got on scene and we went to speak with Miss Booth, the first time that Corporal Blackerby was there, when we both approached the vehicle at the same time, he, as a corporal, took more of a superior role, or a supervisor role, and wanted to speak with her, I think because he was also curious about the appearance of the black Tahoe looking so much like a police car.
Okay.
So he did speak with her mostly, but I also interjected every so often when I had questions or felt it was necessary.
Let me tell you what Mrs. Booth felt. She claims that Corporal Blackerby made her feel harassed and unsure of what to do. She advises that Corporal Blackerby did not give her the room and or space to do what was asked of her when she was trying to correct the issue with her vehicle's suspended registration. When she says didn't give me this room and or space to do what was asked of me, she explained to me that she was on the phone trying to get it handled, but he kept asking questions, and it kind of distracted her from doing that, but she didn't want to be disrespectful to the officer, so she was trying to answer him as well as doing that. Right. Did any of that seem inappropriate, unprofessional, or anything like that on Corporal Blackerby's side?
No, it did not. I did notice that he was asking her questions while she was on her phone, but we tried to give her that time at the end to get the situation resolved, which is why we released her on scene when at the end when we told her that she was free to go. We just gave her the instructions to go to the racetrack off the road.
All right.
Was to give her that allotted time off of the roadway, because it would be unsafe if we told her to just sit on the side of the roadway, because people are terrible drivers. So, so we felt it was safer for her to pull into the racetrack to do that, conduct that business rather than on the side of the road.
Did you see Corporal Blackerby place his hand or arm on her vehicle?
I believe so. Sometimes it's something that we do to appear less rigid. I don't believe that he was doing it out of any disrespect.
Do you remember how he did it? Can you show me? Like, could you pretend that this is the window arm? Do you remember if he was he like this?
No, I believe it was just a left, because if my vehicle is back here and the front of her vehicle is facing this way, I believe it was just an elbow. I never saw him put both arms in the window. And as I said, it was really hard to hear, so that may have, I can't speak for him, but that may have been...
No, I want you to, but that's what you saw was his left arm elbow kind of leaned on.
Just in a relaxed state, certainly not to be disrespectful.
Okay. Is there anything that I did not ask that you think would be beneficial to the investigation?
Just to say that she was, Miss Booth was very cordial. I didn't feel like it was, there was anything to be worried about. Her demeanor was probably another reason that I used my discretion in not towing the vehicle, because I felt like it was, she was trying to just get to a doctor's appointment. I realized that pulling her over was an inconvenience to her day, as it is most people. When police pull them over. So I felt like she was very calm and considerate, and I tried to reciprocate those actions as well. So it was shocking to hear that there was a complaint about it.
And you said that her demeanor showed you what? That it wasn't you
She was
believed
shocked.
her?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously, she was shocked, and I don't. I had been told later on, I think that day when I was speaking to someone about the suspended registration, that sometimes I think the policy of the state of Georgia is supposed to be to mail you a notice that your license or your registration has been suspended. So I didn't know that at the time, but I assume that most people have no idea that their license plate is suspended.
Yeah,
so it was more of a notification for her, not that I expected to do anything or write a ticket or whatever. It was more just to, hey, this is the issue, but we do need to get this fixed now.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, Deputy England, thank you so much for stopping what you're doing and coming in and talking with me. The time now is 12:49 p.m., and this will conclude the interview. Thank you.